Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. I am joined by Ian, the Hog God on the channel. So happy to have you back, Ian. Is this your first time on Voice on the channel, or have you been on Voice before?
Yeah, I think it's my first time on Voice. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you, man. I want to start out by giving a massive shout out to your YouTube channel. It is growing fast. You just finished top 10 again last season. Best finish #2, and you play all kinds of Hog decks. You were like the Hog. I guess, do you play 2. You run 2.6 too, right? You like run everything Hog.
Yeah.
And Cycle.
Yeah, back in the day, I used to like main Hog Executioner and play 2.6 all the time. I've always been a fan of it.
Yeah, dude, and you've always been a fan of Cycle decks. You play Expo 2.9 back in the day, too. I know I've had you on the channel with like every Cycle deck, I feel like, no demand. So I want to get your thoughts on Cycle decks and what makes you so good with them. This is the deck, by the way, that you used to finish 9th on ladder last season with the Firecracker in there as well. So this is the deck we're going to be playing live for you guys. Ian, why don't you go ahead and search for a match, and then we'll pick this up for conversation about the deck when you find one. All right, so we're inside our first match here. So yeah, man, why don't you start with, before we talk about this specific deck, talk a little bit about why you're such a good Cycle player, man. Like, what do you realize that old farts like me don't? Why are you so good?
I feel like one of the main things is instead of just always like wasting your Cycle cards as soon as you have them, it's important to save your Cycle cards sometimes to get like as much value as you can out of them. Like against like a bandit, for example, instead of like wasting your skeletons and Ice Spirit to cycle to another Hog as quickly as possible, you can actually use them in the correct placements to get a King Tower activation, which can really help you in some matchups.
Okay, when you're playing a match, what are you thinking about? It might sound like a dumb question, but like, what is your first order of business?
Dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of just tried to see what they have, and then from there, I just want to decide like what I want to do that match. Like if I want to try to out-cycle them, if I want to just EQ cycle them instead of just constantly using Hog Rider on offense, and I kind of just tried to figure out what my general game plan will be, and then I just go from there and see what happens.
Okay, makes sense. I guess final follow-up before we get to this specific deck here, and nice activation as well, would be, what are some matchups, if any, that you know going in no matter what, you're pretty much Earthquake cycling?
I feel like if they have like a lot of units that can get really good counter push against you, it's usually better to Earthquake cycle. Like against like Mega Knight Ram Rider with Snowball in there, you can never really get a Hog to the tower unless you Hog right as the Mega Knight in the backs. You don't really ever Hog expecting to get any damage. You kind of just occasionally use it in those matchups just to apply pressure, but you know you're not really going to get damage out of them.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. It's not like you're not using Hog ever. You know, you're always using it, but you just might know you have to lean heavier on the spell, in this case, Earthquake. So,
yeah, exactly.
And you're pretty aggressive in this matchup with the Earthquakes. Is that something that you generally do against Logbait?
Yeah, I feel like against Cycle decks, you don't really have to worry too much about like overcommitting with Earthquakes. You can kind of just cycle them pretty freely. You just have to watch out for those princesses, because the damage does add up from them, but besides that, you're looking pretty good.
Okay, cool. As you get to, 25, 24 seconds remaining here inside this match, talk a little bit about the Valkyrie's role in this deck. Obviously, defensively, we kind of know how to play the Valkyrie, but are you ever using her like a tank for your Hog, like you would an Ice Golem or a Knight?
I feel like especially against decks like where they don't have like any like mini tank, like they don't have like a Knight of their own. Like sometimes against Lava Loon, for example, you can kind of just use your Valkyrie plus Hog, and it's really hard for them to stop, even though they have some air units to DPS down your stuff. Your Valkyrie's just gonna get pushed right to the tower, so that can be pretty good. And sometimes if you have like a Firecracker down already against like some Cycle decks, you might just want to get a Valkyrie Hog there, so your Hog won't just die really quickly to their Tesla or whatever they decide to use.
Cool. And I actually asked you off air, I was like, what about that Bomb Tower version of this deck that you were playing? But your answer was pretty obvious. You're like, you just kind of need the Tesla because of the anti-air.
Yeah, I feel like, and also with that deck, I actually prefer Knight when I have Bomb Tower, because you also kind of just want Valkyrie in this deck for that splash damage, because you don't really have too much splash except maybe the Firecracker, but that's not really enough most of the time.
How about the Firecracker? Talk a little bit about her. In this match, it looks like you've pretty much been on autoplay as I've asked you all these questions. GG's, well played.
Yeah.
So as you get into this one here, yeah, talk a little bit about the Firecracker's role in this deck, and maybe because I feel like Firecracker, people can be pretty aggressive with her in good ways too. So talk a little bit about your use. Yeah.
I feel like Firecracker is a really interesting card. You have to really pay attention to the order. When you have like a Firecracker in your deck, you really have to pay attention to the order you cycle your cards in, because they can always DPS down. I mean, they can always just kill the Firecrackers pretty easily with like arrows or any type of big spell. So you oftentimes want to like cycle your Firecracker first and then apply pressure with like a Hog or something after that. So you get like back to another Firecracker as soon as you possibly can.
Okay. And with the fire,
it just applies really good pressure. I feel like if you're facing like some rocket cycle deck, you can just always cycle your Firecracker other lane just to have like a threat on the field down at all times that you can push with if they decide to go aggressive with their rocket.
For me, the most annoying thing too, Ian, about the Firecracker is that I mean, obviously, other than her dodging a spell that you're trying to use on her, is when people use her, especially towards the end of matches, aggressively to get that damage onto the tower, right? Yeah. So do you use her a lot in that regard? Kind of like almost magic archery, like where you're trying to get that extra damage?
I feel like it highly depends on the matchup, but yeah, I often like play a Firecracker on like a knight or something if I have like a knight down, I mean like a Valkyrie of my own down already, like battling against their knight, so the Firecracker gets as much value as possible.
Nice job there. Just like little tiny things, just watching you play too, Ian, is just like you know that when to use the Valkyrie there in that situation, because the Firecracker wasn't going to clean up all those bats. Like little tiny decisions. I take it just off of years of playing Hog that in this deck in particular, you know every little thing, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of those little interactions with this deck just come over time, but if you give it enough practice, you can honestly beat almost any matchup with this deck.
Cool. What about like a beatdown, like a heavy beatdown deck? Obviously, you know, E-Giant Lightning or something like that. Like I feel like that'd be impossible. Apparently not for you.
No,
you're like, that's easy, dude.
Okay. Yeah, that's one of the easier matchups actually, because even after the Tesla lifetime nerf, it still feels like it's on the board just for so long. So
so you cycle two of them.
Just cycle two of them, and also the Firecracker just never dies in that matchup. So you kind of just want to stack Firecrackers and force them to do stuff they don't want to, more or less.
Okay, cool. All right, well, here we go. There's 5 seconds left here in this match. So why don't we kind of get our head into the game here and kind of walk us through what's happening? Where's your head at in this matchup?
Yeah, I'm just trying to slowly Earthquake cycle him. Even though I do have Earthquake for his bomb tower, it is still pretty hard to actually break through here. So I'm just trying to slowly chip him out with Earthquake. So it's kind of like a minor chip versus Earthquake game, and so far we're doing pretty well.
Yeah, you are doing pretty well. This guy's pretty relentless with the pressure, as he should be as well. So it's an interesting matchup to watch here.
Yeah. And Hog barely gonna not hit there, but we're looking pretty good so far.
Yeah, so 90, 80 seconds or so remaining in the match here. You're being even more aggressive as we get down the final stretch here with your logs, your earthquakes.
Yeah, and I'm actually gonna Firecracker here just for a few hundred damage.
No big deal, right?
Yeah, it's always nice to get that extra little chip damage in matchups where it feels like a bit of a stalemate, because he has pretty solid defense here. Honestly, the hardest part of this matchup is just the bats, because they're really, really difficult to clean up when the Ice Spirit doesn't always hit all of the bats.
Right. But yeah, it's still have things under control, it feels like, even though he's throwing a lot at you there.
He does have a good bomb tower placement. He did dodge my earthquakes a couple times, so well played by him, but we're still... Oh man, I accidentally misplaced an earthquake for
Pro plays with Ian! No, I was joking.
Yeah.
Alright, hopefully that doesn't cost you though. Uh-oh.
It's fine.
You're good.
Okay, he keeps on dodging it. I have to say he's playing pretty well, but looks like
no match. Yeah! Oh! Alright. He's got one more shot here.
Yeah, that's gonna be GG.
Woo!
Not gonna lie, I did almost choke a bit on some of those earthquakes, but hey, I win it.
Hey, it was a nice flex, dude. It was a nice flex. All right, want to go ahead and do one more, and we'll kind of just do play-by-play the entire time?
Yeah, perfect, yeah.
All right, cool. Okay, here we go into our next match here against Andre. All right, let's see what he has in store for you. So are you comfortable like hogging first play with this deck? Oh, obviously you are. There you go.
Yeah, I feel like hog first play is a pretty solid play. I would only advise you to not really do that if you know they have like some heavy punish deck like Sparky or maybe even Golem. You might want to wait a bit more before you waste your hog.
Okay, so he giants. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, not really.
Is it graveyard deck maybe? Yeah, it's weird.
Oh yeah, looking like giant graveyard. This could be pretty difficult because I assume he has arrows. So yeah. Luckily, our Firecracker still did get quite a lot of value before the arrows came down, so it's not looking too bad for us.
Yeah, nice job on the defensive end here. Okay,
yeah, Valkyrie gonna clean up.
Just kind of a random question, but like if let's say they Goblin caged your first Hog Rider and you had EQ in hand, would you use EQ, or you're not making that aggressive of a play early on?
I'm pretty sure I wouldn't do that unless they actually played the Goblin cage off to the side, because when they play their Goblin cage like right in front of the tower, your hog won't get a hit even if you do EQ it, so there's not really any point to do that.
Got you. What about like a simple cannon? Would you EQ the cannon as your first play of the match? Like you send in the hog, they cannon.
I mean, it does depend on your reaction time. If you can get the EQ down really quickly, I probably would EQ first play because
a good player like you do it. A bad player, slow reaction time like me, probably not. Probably more passive. Gotcha.
Yeah, and I mean, cannon only really means one deck. It's almost always 2.6, and I know that I can be decently aggressive with my earthquakes in that matchup. So I'm not really. I don't really think I could get punished if I were to waste the earthquake first play. So I'd be fine doing that.
Okay, so you go in hog, you cycle back to a Valkyrie, skeletons, everything under control.
Yeah.
You can almost feel this guy starting to get a little frustrated too.
Yeah. I mean, the bowler is going to be a bit of a nuisance, but our Firecracker is still always forcing him to spend arrows rather than being able to build up that big push that he's looking for.
Yeah. All right, so here he goes.
So he's going to graveyard here.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about it because he did waste arrows, so my Firecracker is just barely gonna die, but
so
we are about to win here.
Yeah, and use the Earthquake on defense there. Is that something that you do pretty often, not just against Graveyard, but against like a variety of sticky situations?
Not too often, I'd say. It's mainly used against Graveyard. Occasionally if I have like some 1 HP unit that I just really badly need to take off the board, I will go in with that EQ, but usually log is just the better choice, but yeah, against Graveyard and maybe like the Skeleton King sometimes that EQ could get pretty good value on defense.
Wow, I gotta say, man, you're really good at playing top ladder and answering my questions at the same time. Nice job.
My YouTube channel has helped me learn how to do that.
That's indeed true. All right, so here we go. You got Bowler. You got the tower down to 1002 HP. Staying aggressive with the Hog Rider, forcing him to use some elixir on the defensive end as well.
Yeah, the Snowball is getting really good value for him on defense, but we're having pretty nice defenses ourselves with the EQ on defense and the Valkyrie up high.
Yeah, he did get some damage that time though, so you got to be a little scared maybe going into triple elixir time here.
Yeah, I mean, I know just like we're just a few EQs off of winning here, so I'm gonna always be hogging at the same time he graveyards, just so that he can't commit as much as he would like to his pushes. And it looks like there's gonna be a whole swarm of bats.
Oh my gosh. Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay.
This Firecracker could potentially get a couple of chip shots on his tower, depending on
how close
things go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Wow, that Firecracker chip damage actually saved us there.
Dude, that was a match, man. Ian,
Yeah,
that's off,
you could
bro.
see that Firecracker at the end was like all the difference there in that win.
That's exactly what I was talking about. What I hate about Firecracker, and you showed it a couple of times in the video. So, dude, Ian, hats off, man. Amazing gameplay. I love how you walked us through the deck as well. Amazing guest. Would love to have you back soon, man. Yeah,
thank you for having me. Those were some very nice games. That was a really clutch ending. And yeah, the Firecracker can actually get a deceptive amount of damage if it hits a unit that's actually like really close to the tower. It can get at least like a few hundred.
Yeah, nice chip for sure. All right, man. Well, hey, perfect time for all my viewers right now still watching to go ahead and head on over to Ian's YouTube channel. Give him a subscribe. Follow him on Twitter as well. Anything else, Ian, before we let you go?
No, not really. Right. Just very, very happy to be here. It's nice to finally come on Voice to explain my thoughts and everything.
Yeah, absolutely, man. A pleasure to have you. And again, would love to have you back. Guys, check out Ian's player stats and profile links at StatsRoyale.com. Big shout out to Bren Chong, my YouTube partner. Check out his information as well. And as always, take care, guys.